The Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus, lived a life marked by grace. But how did she die? The answer might surprise you as we uncover the true story behind Mary's final moments, a tale filled with miraculous events and profound reverence that few truly know. The Virgin Mary, revered as the Mother of Jesus Christ, celebrated as the embodiment of purity, faith, and humility, holds a place of profound importance in Christian belief. Yet her life is cloaked in mystery, especially her final days. How did the Virgin Mary die? What truly happened in her last moments? In this exploration, we'll unravel the stories, legends, and historical facts surrounding the life and death of Mary, revealing details that few people know. From ancient Christian traditions to theological debates, we'll dive into the heart of this mystery. To understand Mary's death, we must first look at what history and tradition tell us. The New Testament is filled with references to her, but the Gospels provide little information about her later life and almost nothing about her death. However, early Christian writings and traditions fill in these gaps, giving us a deeper understanding. One of the earliest beliefs about Mary's death is known as the dormition of Mary, a concept that refers to her peaceful departure from this world, a term used predominantly in Eastern Christianity. In this tradition, Mary is believed to have lived many years after the resurrection of Jesus. Her life, quiet and filled with devotion, was marked by deep prayer and humility. The dormition refers to the moment Mary fell asleep, implying that she did not die in the usual sense but rather transitioned into eternal rest. It is said that when the time came for her to leave this world, all the apostles except Thomas were miraculously brought to her side, even though they were spread across different regions preaching the gospel. Surrounded by those she loved, Mary's passing was peaceful, almost as if she was gently falling asleep rather than experiencing death. The story of her passing continues with what can only be described as a miraculous event. After Mary's dormition, the apostles are said to have buried her in a tomb near the Mount of Olives. But 3 days later, the story takes a fascinating twist, one that has been celebrated and honored for centuries: the Assumption of Mary. This belief, held by Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox Christians alike, teaches that Mary's body and soul were taken up into heaven. The roots of this belief trace back to early Christian apocryphal texts, which hint at something extraordinary occurring after Mary's death. The story goes that when the Apostle Thomas arrived late and requested to see Mary's body one last time, the tomb was opened, but her body was gone. Instead, the apostles found beautiful flowers where her body had been laid. This was seen as proof that Mary had been assumed into heaven, body and soul, much like her son, Jesus. By the 6th century, this belief had become a widely accepted tradition, and in 1950, Pope Pius XII officially defined the Assumption as dogma in the Catholic Church. However, not all Christians agree on the details surrounding Mary's death or Assumption. While the Assumption is a deeply meaningful tradition for many, it is important to note that it has no direct basis in the New Testament. The Bible is silent on the matter, leaving early Christian communities to rely on apocryphal texts and oral tradition. Some scholars have argued that the Assumption could be interpreted in spiritual terms, while others view it as a literal event. There is also some debate about where Mary spent her final days. Some traditions claim that Mary died in Jerusalem, where her tomb is said to lie near the Mount of Olives. However, other stories suggest that Mary lived her last years in Ephesus, modern-day Turkey. In fact, there is a small house in Ephesus that many believe to be Mary's home during her final years. The fact that different traditions point to different locations only adds to the mystery of her death. The House of the Virgin Mary in Ephesus is one of the most visited pilgrimage sites in the Christian world. According to local tradition, this was where Mary lived under the care of the Apostle John after the crucifixion of Jesus, as Jesus had entrusted his mother to John's care while on the cross. The house's discovery is an intriguing story in itself. In the 19th century, a bedridden German nun, Anne Catherine Emmerich, experienced visions of Mary's final days. Guided by these visions, a French priest traveled to Ephesus and found the house described by Emmerich. Though it had been lost to history, the structure was identified as the place where Mary had lived, and it has since become a site of pilgrimage for both Christians and Muslims. Another important aspect of Mary's legacy lies in how different denominations within Christianity approach her death and Assumption. For instance, in Protestant traditions, the focus on Mary is more muted compared to Catholicism and Orthodoxy. Protestants, relying more strictly on scriptural authority, do not recognize the Assumption as official doctrine because it is not explicitly mentioned in the Bible. However, they still honor her as the mother of Jesus and recognize her important role in the life of Christ. Meanwhile, the Eastern Orthodox Church has a unique approach to the event of her death, as seen in the Feast of the Dormition. The Orthodox belief emphasizes that Mary did indeed experience physical death, like all humans, but her body did not undergo decay. They celebrate this moment in August, paralleling the Catholic Feast of the Assumption, but with a greater emphasis on the mystery of her falling asleep and being taken to heaven. Whether viewed through the lens of the Assumption or the Dormition, Mary's departure from this world reflects the deep theological significance of her life. Her death and Assumption symbolize more than just the end of her earthly life. They represent the fulfillment of her divine role. Mary, who said yes to God's plan at the Annunciation, was honored in her death and Assumption for her unwavering faith and devotion to God's will. In addition to theological and historical interpretations, the Assumption of Mary has also had a profound impact on Christian art and culture. Artists throughout history have depicted the Assumption in some of the most famous works of art. From Renaissance paintings by Titian to Baroque sculptures and stained glass windows, Mary's Assumption has inspired countless masterpieces. These works often portray her as a serene and graceful figure, ascending to heaven in glory, surrounded by angels, a powerful visual representation of the belief in her special place in Christian theology. Her impact also extends beyond her physical death. In the centuries since her passing, Mary has become a symbol of maternal love, compassion, and intercession. For Christians around the world, Mary is seen as a figure who continues to care for and pray for humanity. Her presence is felt in Marian devotions, prayers, and countless apparitions throughout history, from Lourdes to Fatima, from Guadalupe to Medjugorje. Each of these moments reaffirms Mary's continued importance in the lives of believers. As we explore the depths of Mary's legacy, we find her portrayed not only as the mother of Christ, but also as a universal symbol of hope and comfort. The teachings of various Christian denominations encourage followers to seek her intercession, often turning to her in times of need or distress. Her ability to bridge the divine and human realms resonates deeply with those who seek solace in their faith. And so, while the mystery of Mary's death may never be fully resolved, it is her life and her example of faith, humility, and love that continue to resonate. Her Assumption is a reflection of the Christian belief in resurrection and eternal life. It is celebrated each year on August 15th, drawing millions of faithful pilgrims to churches and shrines in her honor. In the end, the true story of Mary's death may remain elusive, but perhaps that is part of the beauty of her legacy. Her life, filled with grace and devotion, points us towards something greater, a connection to the divine, to hope, and to eternal life. Whether through the Assumption or the Dormition, the Virgin Mary's final chapter is one of triumph over death, of unity with God. Her story invites us to look beyond the physical realm and to trust in a greater plan. Mary's legacy is not simply defined by how she left this world, but by the life she lived and the example she set. In her, Christians see a model of perfect obedience to God's will, a woman who accepted her role in salvation history with courage and humility. So, how did the Virgin Mary die? The truth in many ways remains shrouded in mystery, but that mystery invites us to reflect on the deeper significance of her life, her death, and her Assumption into heaven. Whether you believe in the literal Assumption or view it as a symbol of hope, Mary's story is one that continues to inspire and guide believers around the world. In the quiet moments of prayer or in the grand celebrations of Marian feast days, her presence is felt, reminding us of the love she showed for her Son, Jesus, and the love she continues to show for all of humanity. The Virgin Mary's story is not just one of endings, but rather of everlasting beginnings, a promise of the divine that continues to unfold throughout the ages. Her legacy, enriched by tradition and devotion, remains a cornerstone of faith for countless individuals, illuminating the path toward a deeper understanding of love, sacrifice, and the mysteries of divine grace. The story of the Virgin Mary's life and mysterious death continues to inspire and guide millions around the world. Her unwavering faith, her quiet strength, and the divine events surrounding her passing offer us a glimpse into something greater. As we reflect on her journey, one question remains. What does Mary's legacy mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into more incredible stories like this, be sure to subscribe. Let's continue exploring the hidden mysteries of faith together.